Welcome back to Lock 22 Sports Daily, right here on the YouTube and the TikTok the next day. Right here every single day at 8 p.m. Central. James, how you doing, brother?
Another day, another
Episode of this show.
episode. That's right.
There is no show tomorrow or Sunday, though, because, well, we're not doing 7 episodes in a week.
I will be live on TikTok probably both days though.
Well, let's get right into this and start the clock right about now.
Done.
And all right, let's just start with the baseball stuff. I look, technically free agency starts, I think, next week. Technically, like that's when they can start negotiating. There's some weird negotiating window stuff here. Like there's an exclusivity period that I think is just 10 days after the World Series or something like that. But the Mariners getting ahead of pretty much everybody declining Jorge Polanco's option today.
Yeah, as everybody knows, baseball goes through dates. Just like football, there are certain dates in the season you'll always look forward to. And I always look forward to watching 7 games of a World Series. But now that we don't have that,
I mean,
the
there's almost never 7 games of a World Series. That's pretty rare.
the other dates of the checklist begin, and like I want to say soft free agency begins today, but also things like player options, that kind of shit happens. And yes, I'm happy that the Seattle Mariners have declined the 2025 option for Jorge Polanco's contract. Even though it's only a year after acquiring him, he was miserable. Dude, if you look at the statistics, he had career lows in like all the major categories and a career high in strikeouts. Not conducive for this Seattle team who's trying to get rid of strikeouts by ditching Teoscar Hernandez, world champion, and like Gino, who was played in the World Series the year before. The team was in the World Series the
You
year
know
before.
what's funny? He had career lows in every statistic and a career high in strikeouts in his last year in the Twins. And he was worse than that for the Mariners.
Yeah. I mean, $12 million is a lot of money for only a 70 or $750,000 buyout. Happy about that. Let him go. Good luck wherever you go. Uh,
I want to talk about that actually.
Go ahead.
This guy was an all-star like 3 years ago,
Yeah, good
and
for
I
him.
think you could make a real argument that this is it for him. Like this
Really,
was it.
really.
I His last 2 years in Minnesota were a disaster. Like I don't know if you remember how bad he was in that Houston series last year. I mean, the whole team was bad against
Yeah,
Houston
I
last year.
think he's only what, 31? I think he's only 31.
Yeah, but it's been categorical decline ever since he made the All-Star game. Like pretty much since he signed that contract, they gave him 12 million a year. It has been decline, 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 decline. So, uh, I am I saying some team won't get desperate and need a second baseman? No.
You know who needs a second baseman?
Who?
Seattle. This will be the seventh straight season we've got a new guy starting at second base. We got to figure something out. It's been that way
Again,
since no left.
am I saying some team won't get dumb and desperate? And there's every chance Seattle gets him at a lower number. I don't think that's impossible.
2 million. Typically, they don't do that. If they're this quick to dismiss your option, they're just not interested. But for $2 million, I might be interested.
I mean, I think the real market for him is going to be 3.5, 4, and it's going to be a 1 year deal wherever he goes.
He
If
didn't
he goes
play.
anywhere.
He didn't play terribly to end the year. Like he kind of got back to his old self for like the last 4 or 5 weeks. But that's not enough, man. The season's long. We can't have big gaps in offense for
And
that
the appeal
long.
with him before the decline started was he was a high average, low strikeout guy. And now it's like complete opposite.
Right, which is problematic.
So
Go ahead, Ben.
if that appeal is gone, then who's going to take him? The Rockies, who don't have anybody? Like, you're not winning with Jorge Polanco on your roster anymore.
Well, the Rockies ain't winning with no matter who they put on their roster. But I mean, I could see him playing there. Here's the deal though. Luis Urias is gone too. He cleared waivers. Um, and when I don't know, I want to just educate the people on what happens when you get put on waivers and you clear waivers, then you come back to the team and they're like, all right, you're not going to be on the 40-man roster. We're putting you in AAA. At that point, the player, with the amount of service that they have, has an option to decide whether they want to take the contract in minor league or become a free agent. And Urias has elected to become a free agent, which means he can now sign with anybody.
And I think Urias will get a spot somewhere else.
I do
I
too. I do too.
Because I don't think he opts for free agency if he thinks he's not going to get a deal somewhere else.
Yeah, and I mean, baseball players, I mean, look at Victor Robles, dude. Washington threw him away. Seattle signed him, and he was our best player easily for the last month and a half of the season. So,
Urias is going to get a starting third base job somewhere,
yeah,
and there's every chance if Gleyber Torres decides to check out of New York, it's there.
yeah, we will, Ben. We will have to do a spot where we figure out who the free agents are, and then kind of come up with some landing spots for these guys,
I
or
will get
maybe wish list for our teams.
I have a pretty good idea of who's free agents this year, but I'll get a full list in the next couple weeks
Yeah,
here.
we'll cover it
I
at a
don't
due
remember
date.
when full free agency starts, but it's not for like another week or two.
Yeah,
All right,
we'll
let's
give you
move
the
on.
dates. We'll give you the date, and then we'll cover it starting
Let's
on
move
that.
on.
All right, let's do it.
Thursday night football, Jets hosting the Texans. This game was her. My mom, who loves football probably more than the two of us put together, called this game the most unbearable piece of bleep she's ever watched.
Why?
She was bored to tears. She could not. My mom legitimately likes football more than you and me, and she could barely tolerate this game.
Who's your team?
She's also a Vikings fan.
She's a Viking fan, and she loves football more than us, more than me.
Yeah.
Boy, she's had some rough goes. But
You
you,
wonder
Mom.
where I get my cynicism from. Oh.
Well, I guess now I know. All right.
Uh
Yeah, this game was
Horrid?
dude, look, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but as we were closing arguments for this game last night, I said, "Hey, could the Jets feasibly win this game?" Yes. They
We
c-
agreed.
uh two things that I saw. Aaron Rodgers was garbage still.
Horrid.
Like Garrett Wilson bail him out with two amazing touchdown catches, both one-handed grabs. Um, yeah, that I mean, wow. Wow, Garrett Wilson looked like an absolute stud last night.
I, they won the only way they could have, which was their defense was incredible. And I made that point on the show yesterday too, which was the only way the Jets win this game is if their defense just kills
They were all
somebody.
over CJ Stroud last night.
That's what they needed to be to win that game.
So I I'm not ready to say that the Jets belong in prime time. Let me ask you this, Ben. Two incredible catches, bails Rodgers out, all over CJ Stroud, look pedestrian. Does this give the Jets, or more notably, the Jets fans, any hope of success or playoff berth,
No, no, they're
despite
out.
having the easiest schedule left in the NFL?
If Aaron Rodgers plays like that, no, because their defense isn't going to be that good every week. You can't do that every single week. That's not sustainable. I'm sorry, it's not.
Dude, my next question is the Jets defense CJ Stroud's kryptonite? Because he sucked against them last year too.
Well, he sucked against Minnesota. Is
So
great defense.
what's the key to stopping CJ Stroud? Just getting to him 100,000 times?
Just blitz the hell out of him.
51% of dropbacks he was pressured last night.
I don't think that Texans line is very good. They're just not.
Well, to be fair, he was missing Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins. Tank Dell was his biggest target at wide receiver. And let's be honest, isn't he a running back?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah. So I realized that the Jets were also dealing with some health issues. And this game, like the first quarter, it really did look like Keystone Cops on both sides. It was ugly. They were fumbling the ball. It was it was not good football to watch. The first quarter was absolute ass.
I, this game felt like a rock fight. It really did. It just felt like a total like two guys picking up rocks and just trying to smash each other over the head with it. I don't know.
And guess who actually ended up getting smashed over the head? All of us viewers at home.
It put me to sleep.
I hung in until the defense of Houston just said, "Hey, Adams, why don't you just run right past all of us?" And then I was like, "All right, I've had enough." And I got up and I walked out at that point. But yeah, it's very, very seldom that I don't finish a game. Because I like to see teams fight till the end, and it just seemed like they're like, we're done. Go ahead and score here. We're done.
Felt like both teams wanted to lose that game.
Yeah, for a little bit. You're right.
Uh, Moving on to Sunday, Derek Carr is back
You know
for
what
what it
makes me
matters.
happy about that? I
Is he
didn't
on your
know
fantasy
that.
team?
And I was like, it's going to be Spencer Rattler's coming out party. The Saints are going to win. And now I feel like they actually do have a chance to win. Gobo went the other way. So, haha.
J- Jordan Love will be questionable as the Packers play the Lions.
He plays. You think?
No.
You don't think he does?
When you're questionable on Friday, I don't have a whole lot of hope for what you're going to be on Sunday.
Look, there's two
Uh,
schools of thought here, Ben. One is this is the biggest game of the year. If there's any way you can play, you play. And then the second school of thought is if you really are injured, this is probably a good game for you to sit out because we might lose anyway. I hate the second line of thinking. The first line of thinking, questionable, that means there's a chance. And if there's any chance that he could play in this game, the biggest game of the year, he should absolutely do it. He's got to be there for these guys.
uh, I don't know, man. He hasn't looked healthy all year. I don't think the Packers are that good. So I'm not picking them to win that game anyways, and I definitely won't. Whether he plays or not, I'm picking the Lions to win that game. It doesn't matter. I don't care if they bring Brett Favre out of retirement for the 15th time to play quarterback. I'm picking the Lions to win that game.
As did I.
I think most reasonable people are. Speaking of most reasonable people picking one team, TJ Hawkinson is back for the Vikings, and if you weren't already picking Minnesota, you should be now.
Yeah, those Iowa tight ends are invaluable.
If Minnesota already wasn't a heavy favorite going into that game against the Colts at home on a Sunday night, they are now. Hawkinson being back completely changes the whole dynamic of that offense. They've missed
Well,
him.
yeah, I mean, think about this. If you were lacking in your two tight end sets, you can now bring those back with full effectiveness. I mean, I realize you probably have a third tight end on the roster, but he ain't TJ Hawkinson. So
If
those,
Hawkinson, let me ask you this: if Hawkinson plays the last 2 weeks, are the Vikings 7-0 right now?
maybe, yeah, maybe.
Is there like could convince yourself Hawkinson being in there against the Lions wins them that game?
Yeah. And I definitely think he makes an impact in the Rams game because the Rams don't defend down the seam at all. And that's where Hawkinson lives his life,
That's how
running.
he gets paid,
Yeah. So,
literally.
and that was a close game to begin with. And Darnold was really good in that game, despite the
I don't
loss.
know. That Rams game I think might have been a loss anyway because the defense didn't play particularly well. So,
We'll never know, Ben. We'll never know.
uh, Christian McCaffrey is eyeing not this week, but next week to potentially play football. Now, we heard this week 2. We heard this week 5. We've heard this about every 3 weeks. Um, that, oh, maybe next week.
I've
Do we believe
actually gone as far as to say that he won't play this season, but it looks like a real thing. Um,
it looked pretty real last time, too?
I don't just conjure up these things because I want them. Because guess who we play the week after? San Francisco in San Francisco. And they already whooped on us once.
Without him.
And so I I mean, if we're gonna beat him, I want to beat him with McCaffrey on the field, period. So I ain't scared of it. I want to see what he looks like. If he how long it's not gonna take him any time to dust the rust off. If he's ready to go, he'll be ready to go.
He'll either be really ready to go or get hurt within a quarter and a half.
Well, I think that's part of the reason that he's been out so long is they don't want to rush him back. They want to make sure that he's fully healthy. And we know that at some point of sitting out, he will become fully healthy. And if he's that guy, look out.
If he is the McCaffrey of last year, that's terrifying
So, yeah,
because they don't have to throw the ball at all at that point.
I mean, yeah, it's an instant makes it makes Brock Purdy an instant MVP candidate, which is
Again,
crazy because McCaffrey should be the MVP candidate. Uh, Weird
speaking
how
of the
that
Seahawks,
dynamic works in San Francisco. The MVP comes back and makes another guy the MVP.
isn't it weird?
Stupid.
Uh, speaking of the Seahawks, DK Metcalf ruled out again. Puka Nacua is questionable. Who knows if he's going to play?
Dude, I'm sitting here going,
Yeah,
hey, DK Metcalf, come
I'm
on,
not.
man.
I'm not sure if they're not holding him out because they're trying to trade him. That's what this feels like to me.
Why though?
Because your
Have
front
the
office
best
does a
one of the
lot of
best
stuff.
years.
Because your
What?
front office does a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense, and this would be key amongst them.
But what are you gonna get for DK Metcalf? Like if you look around at what these high dollar receivers have been getting traded for, fourth and fifth. If we trade Metcalf for a fourth round pick, I'm done. This comes off and it stays off. There's like
I
what
I think you'd get a first.
first?
Well, the Jets just got a second for Devonte Adams.
You know what? I'd take it first. I'd take it first for DK Met. I love him. I love the guy, but I don't know how to make this team better moving forward when you're going to finish the season at 500 and get a middle of the road draft pick. I don't know how to get better at that point.
And anybody that trades for DK is going to be like 20s at best in terms of the pick you're going to get back.
Oh, dude, he's going to instantly be fire for another team. Are you kidding me? We already
Like,
talked about this. You put him on Pittsburgh
if you put him on Buffalo,
or
like,
Buffalo, they're
uh,
super.
If Josh Allen had DK Metcalf this whole time, I'm pretty sure he'd already have two Super Bowls. I'm not kidding.
Dude, no, I'm right there with you. He's that special of a player. And that's why I'm pissed that he's not going to be playing. And that's verified, not playing. Puka, questionable. We need him out to even have a chance.
Puka's probably not going to play. I know they said questionable. He's probably not going to play.
Well, they probably
Uh,
feel less pressure knowing that DK is not going to play. So, like, all right, we got Cooper Cup still, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Tutu Atwell and Colby Parkinson.
I kind of like Tutu Atwell.
I do too, but I hate the Rams
Anyway,
this game.
let's move on to the NBA.
Hey, for full coverage of the NFL, make sure that you're watching NFL on this very network.
Uh, I do. Thank you. Uh,
Clearly,
so
clearly, I was talking to you.
yes,
Give me
you
some
were.
NBA action, Ben.
Well, Damian Lillard had. Let me look. Hold on. 4 points last night.
Jesus Christ, what's going on? Can he be a Spur already? Can we do this? Can we make this happen?
I don't know. Um,
I'm
and
serious.
the Grizzlies, who have not looked good at all this season, won this game. The Grizzlies over under started at 47 and a half. It's down to 44 and a half. They've been looking horrendous. They're already banged up. And it's 122.99 by the end of it. Giannis, it was the Giannis Antetokounmpo show, and forget about everybody else. Uh,
Dude, I can't, when was the last time Lillard had less than 10 in a game that he finished?
um, there was a couple of games his rookie year where he got very little minutes.
If we're going all the way back, I bet it's happened less than 10 times in his career where he's at under 10 points in a game that he finished.
That might have been his career low. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Uh, Speaking of crazy results, the Rockets beat the Mavericks in Dallas. What the hell happened here?
It was Halloween, dude. Halloween, okay. You had Thursday night football happen. Anything can happen on Halloween. We know this. It's been put into our head.
If you put last night's sports results into a headline, just all the results mixed together, stupid things happen on Halloween. I think that would have to be the headline. Stupid things happen. Things that don't make sense.
Dude, you had like 60 points from two players on the Mavs.
Yep.
Now you can't get it done. Give me a break.
And Luka Doncic continues to look like an MVP frontrunner.
He is. I believe that.
I've believed it since the season started, since before they played a game,
Yeah, me too.
because I don't think the Nuggets are that good. Uh,
We got to talk about.
they didn't play last night, but
I know that, but like they're in disconnect right now. It's brewing hard. And how do they save it? Can they save it?
I think they can. But I'll talk about that here in a second.
All right.
The Suns go into the Intuit Dome and beat them for a second time since that building opened. That building opened 2 weeks ago. Um, the Clippers just cannot get it going.
Are they defeated there? And by that I mean not undefeated, but defeated. Because Portland beat them there by one, and that's at least three games early in the season. They can't have played more than that there, right?
I can't imagine so. There's been
Wow.
less than 10 games in the season for them.
Well, might want to go back to the old Staples Center.
They might want to pack their bags and move home. Move back in with daddy. I mean the Lakers. What?
What?
Uh the Spurs beat the lowly Jazz. The Jazz are clearly tanking, and Will Hardy could be fired by Christmas. Uh,
Well, I that notion grows and grows with every passing game, Ben. And I will say this. Um, I like this young Spurs team, and I'm adamant that they should make a play to get Damian Lillard.
well, they certainly have the cap space.
Yeah, I'm adamant that he because here's the thing, dude. Wemby is a great all-around player. Giannis is a scorer who can play defense too, but he requires to touch the ball every time down the floor. Wemby is not that guy. If you have somebody to somebody like Wemby, like, and here's the difference. Giannis is like he's trying to get 40 points a game. He's
You mean
shooting enough
Lillard?
baskets. Taking enough shots to get 40 and 50 points a game. When you have that type of guy, you don't have another guy like Lillard who takes the same amount of shots. What you need is Lillard to complement a guy that is trying to get to 25 and 20 a game.
Okay, but the problem is what on the Spurs, other than draft picks, gets them Lillard because the Bucks aren't going to give him up for nothing.
The Bucks aren't going to give him up for nothing, but at some point they got to realize that it ain't working with what they have. If there's no point in having
They
two,
scapegoated their coach last year, right? So they scapegoat their coach last year. You can't do that now because it's Doc Rivers. You cannot scapegoat your coach when your coach is a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. Like this would be like the Spurs trying to scapegoat Greg Popovich for the last couple of years. They couldn't reasonably do that.
I get that. I know, and I know that.
And don't tell me Doc Rivers isn't a Hall of Famer. I don't want to hear it. He absolutely is.
I wasn't going to make anywhere near that argument.
Uh, so I don't know. I don't know what they do in Milwaukee other than trade guys, but I don't know who you trade other than
Dude,
Lillard.
trade draft picks, whatever. It's not like Milwaukee only has Lillard and John and Giannis. They've got plenty of talent on that team that are probably just like, can we please move on? I'm sure some of the players are like, I'm ready to move on. That's not that Dame's a bad guy. I'm sure they all like him really well, but what they need to realize that what they're doing is ineffective. They've got two guys that are trying to get 40 plus points a game.
I'm sure
Not that
Doc
many
Rivers,
shots.
I'm sure Doc has said something like, hey, maybe this whole idea of these two guys who want 50 points a game, maybe this just doesn't work.
Or we have these two guys that want $60 million a year. Why are we spending this much when we can't effectively use both of them? Dude, to me, you got to push. I mean, if I'm
would
the
do,
Spurs, I'm making a call at least.
would
That's
Chris Paul, two first round picks, and like maybe a conditional third one?
dude, Chris Paul and a first round pick should do it.
I know Chris Paul is old, but
He's old, but I mean, he can fit in there. He's not trying to be the center of attention anymore. And let's be honest, Damian Lillard is a true point guard, and Giannis brings the ball down the court half the time. What are you doing? I
you could
don't.
argue Giannis is a better point guard than Lillard, though,
All
which is
right.
crazy.
We'll have to talk about tomorrow's games tomorrow. I want to move on to WNBA, and then we got a little hockey to talk in about 2 minutes to go in the show.
Okay, WNBA, I almost called her Stephanie Wild. What the hell? Stephanie White.
Maybe she is wild, Benjamin.
I don't know. I don't know. I saw this on NBA today. I don't know what the
Cute.
hell's going on.
She's cute.
Stephanie White, predictably, as you predicted, and I saw it on more than just this show. I saw it just about everywhere. Stephanie White gets fired by the Sun, and immediately, I, I mean, 5 minutes after, it goes to Indiana. Like just predictable stuff. I'm not surprised.
Well, it seems like the cool thing right now to fire your WNBA coach. And I only brought up those two because it's a match made. We already I mean, I've only been a fan of the WNBA. since Caitlin Clark joined. I'll be honest with you. I love Sue Bird, and I know that she played for Seattle, but I couldn't really tell you much beyond that. Um, I'm sad that she's retired now that Caitlin Clark is in the league because that would have been fun matchups to watch. But yeah, dude, Caitlin Clark was mismanaged. She is a fan of Stephanie White and vice versa.
And they both wore 22 for the Fever. So there you go. All right,
Yeah,
hockey
I mean,
stuff.
so you kind of saw the connection there. Um, yeah, I clearly wasn't the only one to make that connection, but I'm glad that we did. And yeah, there we go. I think that's probably our time today, Ben. So we missed talking about the Kraken getting their asses kicked.
Well,
We
you talked about it. There it is. That's pretty much all I was going to say about that game is the Kraken just got their butts handed to them.
and then the Caps got dominated by Montreal 6-3. Oilers get a strong 5-1 win. And then we had one game today, 6-4, Florida over the Stars.
Why that game was played at noon, I don't know, but it was
There you have it. We will see you guys mañana.
Monday.
Oh yeah, whatever. I'm gonna pretend that mañana means Monday.
It doesn't.
It does not.